Is the New Balance Hesi Low a good shoe to play in? If you haven't played them before, I actually think they're pretty nice. Let's check them out. Alright, so welcome in or welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be breaking down the New Balance Hesi Low, one of the newer basketball shoe models to come out of that New Balance line. And actually, got to give a huge shout out to New Balance specifically for actually sending these out to us to be able to review. That's not the only ones they sent. We also got the two-way V4 that I'm going to be touching on probably next week, maybe a week after you see this video. They even sent us some merch, so really nice New Balance shirt here. Big shout out to New Balance, we appreciate it. But the reviews and the ideas, just basically how the shoe plays, that's all going to be kind of thoughts and just, you know, my own opinions on that. But I mean, we're going to be breaking down everything to do with this new model as far as like the cushion, the traction, the support, how they play, all the different performance aspects for this shoe. But before we get into all that, I do like to just start off with a breakdown. The first thing we'll talk about is just the retail price. And the price is going to be more affordable than a lot of basketball shoes out there, retailing for $110. You know, that's going to be very middle of the pack, almost more on the affordable side. So you got to love that when it comes to New Balance. They don't have a ton of different basketball shoe lines out there, but they are starting to sprinkle in a little bit more. Like I even did play in the Fresh Foam BB. That was another newer like kind of shoe line that I've gotten to test out. Of course, they got their patented Kawhi shoe line that I've actually gotten to play in through the first 1 or 2 models now that are out. I'm sure the 3s are coming soon. Maybe they're already out. I need to be looking into that. Let's stay focused though on the Hesi Low because this is a really cool model today. And one of the main things that I like about this shoe is just the design. So honestly, this is going to be, you know, more of a low top silhouette. That's how they describe it. And that's just how the shoe is. Even from looking at it, you can tell that. But something that I really do like about this is they give you some like different pieces on the shoe to give it some more character. So you see the design on the side. These are actually little patches that you can take off of the shoe and just kind of move around. You can even take it and put it on the tongue. There's just all different types of ways you can play with that. I thought that was a really cool, just like, you know, aspect of the shoe that a lot of them don't have out there. If you don't like that, that's not important because we're not here to break down the design of the shoe anyways. But the Hesi Low, as far as like a newer basketball line or a New Balance, as far as like New Balance basketball shoes go, this is one of my favorite looks out there on the market. But now we're going to leave the appearance and all that stuff alone, and we're just going to get straight into how this shoe plays on the court. And the first thing I want to talk to you guys about is going to be the cushioning. So these are going to have New Balances. It even says so on the midsole here. They're fuel cell. Gosh, those two words run together for me. Fuel cell foam cush up is going to be what the New Balance Hesi Low is rocking with. And that's what they put in a lot of their models right now. I mean, that's a pretty common cushioning setup that New Balance goes with. And it plays really well for this Hesi Low model. I will say you are going to need, you know, some break-in time on these. The second you put them on, it's not immediately soft, but like I said, the more you continue to break them in, I was actually pretty impressed with how this low top model felt. And honestly, the cushion for me, it's just always a positive on a low top shoe because a lot of shoes tend to not do a good job on like the surrounding padding on the upper, especially whenever you're talking about like the back kind of heel portion of your shoe. This shoe, the Hesi Low, I need to stop saying shoe so much. The Hesi Low honestly does a really good job with that, and the low top silhouette doesn't really crowd your ankle, anything along that line. So cushion is a spot that, you know, Kawhi's line, we're going to just relate it to that. Kawhi's line is not the softest in my opinion. It's going to give you more of a responsive feel, and that's good too. It helps you with like quicker movements, but there's not a ton of just that underfoot padding. The Hesi Low, I feel like that's softened up and just feels softer in general to me. So that is something that I was a big fan of. Now we'll move on from the cushion and just kind of talk about more of like the upper material on these. And there's not quite as much whenever you're talking about the Hesi Low, because like I said, it's a low top silhouette, so they don't have quite as much, you know, kind of mess around with. But it's more of like this synthetic feel for the upper. It doesn't feel like, I'll be honest, it doesn't feel super high quality, but it's not a budget shoe, but it's like almost in that price range. $110 is pretty low for basketball shoes these days. I mean, LeBron's up in the 200s and so is Jordan's line. So, I mean, this is for the price point, the upper does feel really quality and the support isn't an issue, right? So we're talking about the upper whenever it comes with support for a lighter shoe, which is what this is actually a super light shoe. The support, you don't feel any give whenever you're making those like hard lateral movements, those like cuts and stuff like that. Honestly, I haven't felt the support really give on me at all. And the heel slippage. This is a low top model. Whenever you're looking at stuff like that, I mean, just to name a few off the top of my head, Trey's line, Harden's line, there have been some ones, and that's specifically Adidas, but like there have been all kinds of basketball shoes out there circulating where you just get a ton of heel slippage on the back of that model. I haven't noticed anything about that on New Balance. Like the lockdown's really good. You can even see, I don't even have these laced all the way up. I laced it up to 2. There's one more hole left on those, and that's going to give you even tighter lockdown. It's going to be more so keeping like, you know, just your heel and stuff like that compressed into the design. So the support is a spot that I was really impressed with for the Hesi low. When you're talking about a low top silhouette, like I was saying, and just a super light shoe, love to see that there wasn't really any, you know, movement, lateral movement on this design. The last thing that I want to talk to you about is going to be the traction. That's a spot where the Hesi low has been good, not great, but it has been better than Kawhi's line. And I am just going to relate it to that because that's going to be the most notable shoe line from New Balance, right? Like, you know, he is their main signature athlete, when it really about the only one that has a signature shoe line there. So Kawhi's the most mainstream when it comes to New Balance. I was impressed with how the Hesi low, it does feel like, to me, it outplays the Kawhi too. I think the traction, even especially, whenever you're talking about the grip, you know, it seemed to be very consistent. The one thing with this Hesi low model, whatever outsole compound they use, it just doesn't make, you know, a lot of noise on the court, which isn't a big deal because the traction, you know, for the most part, it collects a little bit of dust, but for the most part, like, I mean, it does seem to be very solid, just a very well-rounded model. But the last thing I do want to talk to you guys about is just the sizing for these. And even looking at these straight on, New Balance is known, honestly, for giving you, I wouldn't say their shoes are wider in general, but they'll normally give you more sizing options. This is going to be a little bit more on the skinny side whenever you're talking about just the width. But as far as the length goes, your toes also go like basically right up to the end if you go true to size, which is what I did. So that means that you may be able to go, you know, a half size up, create a little extra space both sideways and both for your toes if you're not someone that likes to have more of like a snug and compact fit. But that brings us to the end of the video, and I'm going to wrap up the New Balance Hesi low with an overall letter grade of a B+, which is not bad at all. I mean, New Balance, I mean, if I was going to give the Kawhi grade, I'm not going to lie, it's probably like a C. So this is a really nice basketball shoe, and it's just, like I said a second ago, very well rounded. The cushion, I mean, I wanted to harp on it. Whenever I first put it on, it kind of felt similar to the Kawhis. I was like, yeah, you know, that kind of checks out. But the more I played, the more it continued to open up and break in for me. The cushion ended up being a pretty positive aspect. And then, like I said, I love lighter models. Of course, it's low top. I love lighter models, and this is a super light shoe, but it doesn't have any of those support issues, even with it being, you know, just this synthetic upper, not a ton going on there. And then the traction, it's just consistent, pretty consistent. It's not, you know, Mellow Ball 3, it's not LeBron 20, stuff like that, where it's just biting the floor, but it is there. You're not slipping around, you're not sliding. That's something that I noticed. So like I said, B+, really not a bad grade at all for this shoe when you're talking about a $110 model. But that's going to wrap up this review. If you like this shoe, we're going to leave a link down below or on this video on the screen right here. You can just go ahead and click on that, go ahead and buy a pair for yourself. Shout out again to New Balance for sending this to us, and be on the lookout for that two-way V4. We're going to be breaking that model down hopefully in the next week or two. But I appreciate you guys stopping by to watch. Till next time, I'm Landon from Shoewear. Peace.